I thought I'd do a video about the reasons we came to live in France, and I wrote myself a list and started to write the list. I didn't get very far, so then I went into Mark and I went, give me some reasons why we came to France, and he couldn't come up with anything that I hadn't already got on my list. Um, and most of them actually turn out to be economic reasons if you add them all together. So my list of reasons to come to France is not very long. The first one on the list, they're not in any order of priority. The first one on the list is it meant we could give up our stressful jobs. We were both working in psychiatry. Mark was working as a community psychiatric nurse, and I was managing a 28-bed psychiatric nursing home and managing, I can't remember how many staff, about 30 staff or more. And we were both getting, struggling, getting quite stressed. I don't think I was aware until we moved here how stressed I'd got. I was more aware of how stressed Mark seemed when he came home. So that leads into that we wouldn't have been able to afford to give up working had we stayed in the UK. We lived in a very pretty 16th century cottage on the edge of on the edge of a hill overlooking a river in Devon, North Devon. Beautiful outlook, lovely little cottage at the front, but at the back it was more like a 1960s shack that needed rebuilding. And it wasn't very big, and so we were using a big room at the back over the top, which had a flat roof, as our joint office. Then we had a bedroom, and there was another room that was a smaller bedroom, but it wasn't a very big cottage. So it needed rebuilding at the back, which would have needed us to remortgage. Well, we had only been together about 4 or 5 years. So, and I was 50-ish, Mark was 57, 58. And to take a mortgage out at that time, or to have continued the mortgage or extended the mortgage that we'd already taken for this house, would have meant me working and well into my 80s, I think. And that wasn't on the cards. The other thing is that had I carried on working and Mark retired, because he could retire, he'd got a pension that had mental health officer status on it, which had increased his pension quite considerably towards the end of his working life. So it was a good pension. But had he taken that and he'd retired, things would have gone downhill in our relationship, because he wouldn't have been he wouldn't have prepared for me coming home and wanting to be fed. He'd be stuck with his head in a plastic aeroplane or tank. So it wouldn't have worked if only one of us had retired, and I wasn't going to work till I was 80. It was very stressful, my job, and it was taking its toll on my health as well. So that was another reason that we needed to move on. We both holidayed here. So number 2, not in priority, we'd both holidayed here independently when we were married before, although I don't think I came with my first husband. I think I came with a friend. I came with my family of origin when I was younger, and he came with his family of origin, and then with his first first wife and children. So we both holidayed here independently. Both of us had fantasies of living here. Both of us loved it here. And I, for myself, felt like France was home. Very often I was here and felt like France was home. I can't tell you how or why or what it was that made me feel that way, but I did feel that way. I felt at home in France, even though I couldn't really speak the language that well. So yeah, independently, we'd had fantasies about living here. So we started to holiday here together. I think we had 2 or 3 holidays here together, eventually ending up 20 minutes away in a house swap, in a house very similar to this, which sort of then set it hadn't set the seed, but it started the seed growing quite quickly, a bit more quickly than Mark was expecting. So moving here meant that we could be, this was on the list, meant that we could be mortgage free. So it meant coming here, apart from living our fantasy, it meant that we could buy somewhere outright and not have, with the sale of our property in Devon, it meant that we could buy a property outright and not have a mortgage to pay. We had his NHS pension and my very small NHS pension to live on. And at that time, the exchange rate was really quite good. I'm not going to say fantastic because I think it had been better, but the exchange rate I think was 147 to the euro, 147 pounds to the euro. Is that the right way around? So that made it really good as well. You know, when you brought money over, you'd bring over 100,000 euros and you'd be getting 147,000. I think that's right, euros. We paid for this house the same amount that we paid for our Devon cottage 3 years previously. We were in it for 3 years, and our Devon cottage is a third the size of this house. So that's the difference for us. It doesn't apply all over the French houses are not valued in the same way as English properties. It's completely different. So you wouldn't be able to say that across the board. But at that time, what we had paid 3 years previously for our cottage in Devon is what we paid in 2006 for this property. So yes, it meant that we could be mortgage free. It meant that we didn't have to get up and go out to work. And I think I was thinking about that. I was thinking about how we don't have to get up and go to work and how amazing that is. And I know that there's lots and lots and lots of people that don't have that as an option. And again, I'm talking about privilege. We're very lucky that we had that as an option. And I was watching the Jimmy Carter memorial service in Washington, because it wasn't his funeral, was it? I think he went back home for a funeral, but all the ex-presidents there, and looking at Biden as he walked in with Jill, and looking at how old he looked, and thinking, is he 80? I can't remember now, but he has to get up every fucking morning and work. He has to get up, he has to go here, he has to do that. And that life for me is not obviously President of the United States, not something I aspire to, but just the whole having to get up every day to leave your home, to make enough money to come home and live in your home or feed yourselves I know that it's normal. I know that it's normal, but we don't live like that now. So I'm able to observe and see how lucky we are that we don't have to do that. And it really, really makes a big difference. So we came here, we didn't have to work. We had time to recover from our work in the UK, and that took some months. It took months for me to recover, I know that. But then I had been the organiser of all the moving, all of the stuff around the move had been everything. I mean, I am the organiser of stuff, and I organised all that. So that would have had an impact on me as well. But I was quite stressed by the time we got here. Not obviously. I wasn't, obviously stressed, but I know I was really tired. And when I look back on it, I realised that I was. So yeah, 2006. So we've been here just over 18 years. During that time, I've seen people come and go. I've seen people come over. Maybe they come over for different reasons. We certainly didn't come over for the wine. We didn't come over for the cheese. I don't think we came over for the food, but the food is amazing. I cook, as you know, I do most of the cooking. We rarely eat anything that we've bought in um, from anywhere else, and even though sometimes that's a pain in the bum because I need to cook more than perhaps I used to. It's quite handy not having so many takeaway shops nearby, which we did have takeaways in the UK, and at least twice a week we'd have a takeaway, and I know that they're not good for you. So it was good to get away from those. Um, and I suppose it was good to get away from the need to shop. I don't know what it is. There's a very commercial side to living in the UK that I don't find here. We don't find here. So we don't go out browsing and shopping in the way that we did when we were working. I don't know why that is. It isn't what drove us to be here, but it's another good reason for being here. So that's it really. So basically, the reason that we moved here was for economic and financial reasons and for health reasons, um, and we were lucky to be able to make those choices. And it's a choice that we could make because it was well ahead of Brexit, and not a choice that people can make as easily nowadays. When we came, we didn't have to prove that we were here. We didn't have to tell anybody. We didn't have to ask permission. But now, you have to jump through hoops before you can do that. Well, we didn't have to do that. So, yeah, it was very easy. There was freedom of movement. We could have gone anywhere in Europe without having to ask permission, and that isn't on the cards for anybody in the UK now. So, yeah. Very lucky. Okay, so now I'm freezing out here. We've now gone into, starting this afternoon, we've gone into the very cold spell. And it is really cold out here, and I should have put another top on before I came out. And the sun's gone behind the clouds. Okay, thanks for watching. Sorry my list is short. Short lists are meant to be longer, aren't they? Okay, bye.